Good evening and welcome everyone to the Ravenswood City School District Governing Board meeting of October 13th. We will begin the meeting at 6:36 p.m. and I will take roll call. Vice President Shabomaheen? Here. Trustee Alexander made note that she will not be here. Trustee Polito?
Present.
Trustee Bloom?
Here.
I myself am present. We have quorum. We will move on to item number 2, which is the approval of the agenda. Do we have any questions or comments regarding the agenda?
Through the chair, I'd like to pull item K, or sorry, what is that? Something K. 7K. Consideration to approve MOU with Stanford PSC.
Okay,
And then also through the chair, I will need to pull item 7L as the organization. Meta will need to review the MOU marketing.
okay. So for item L is a pull altogether. For item K, is it a pull altogether or
It's for this, for me, I'm gonna recuse myself from the
Gotcha.
vote, because I'm employed by Stanford as a graduate student.
And
Gotcha.
through the chair, but I do have questions about that, so.
Okay.
It's like a double pull, I suppose.
Gotcha. So I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda with the exclusions of items 7K and 7L. 7K will be discussed later and 7L is out altogether.
I move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 4-0. We will move on to item number 3, which is closed session. This is a time for the public. If anyone wishes to address any matters that we will discuss during closed session, this is your time. As I see none, we'll go into closed session at 6:38 p.m. Thank you. Good evening and welcome back. We will reconvene open session at 9:04 PM. I will go down and report back on items that were discussed during closed session. For item 3A, there was discussion and direction was given. For item number item B, there was no discussion. For item 3C1, there was discussion, and for item 3C2, there was discussion. Now moving on to item number 6, which is from the floor. If we have any members of the public that wishes to address the board on any matters that are not agendized, this is your time. As I see none, we will move on to item number 7, which is the consent agenda. Before we go ahead, item number 7K was pulled, which is the consideration to approve the MOU with the Stanford University Graduate School of Education. I believe Vice President Shabomaheen will recuse herself. And we will ask Mr. Will Eager.
I don't know if Trustee Polito would like to provide context on why she pulled it first, or I'm happy to discuss some of the merits of this particular contract.
So how long have we, yes, thank you, through the chair. How long have we had this agreement with them for? Is this the first time we're signing this agreement? It's not. It's a kind of a continuous one we've done for how many years now?
At least for 5, and I know there was a few years before I came on board.
So based on
As
what was
superintendent.
provided, maybe I shouldn't have 2 on, too ambitious here. So based on what was provided, I want to understand what is the benefit to the district to doing this, not just as it's written here, but if we've been in this for 5 years, what have we been able to, because we don't get reports on this. It doesn't come back to us unless it's the contract that's being signed. So I would like a little bit more as to what this has been able to produce that's beneficial to our district. And why do we think it's important to continue on? Like, I get the general idea,
And I
but
think
more specifically, please.
you may be able to see me smiling a little bit, because that is the exact question that we asked Stanford 4 weeks ago when they brought this back to us. And then we met with them, I think 2 or 3 times since then, to talk through exactly that of what is in it for us.
Mhm.
It seems like you guys are running studies on our students and the history and the performance of our students. Why do we want you to do this?
Exactly.
And so we actually pretty aggressively renegotiated aspects of the contract with that particular question in mind. We're one of, I think, 7 or 8 districts in the area that do this. And so what this is sort of putting data towards is it combines a bunch of the local districts, feeder patterns that go into different high schools, and then track how our students are doing across time in ways that we frankly wouldn't have access to see, how our students are doing relative to other districts. But the broader point, I think, is what you're alluding to is, well, when have we actually seen any of that analysis, right? And over the last couple of weeks, we've actually started to see some of the results that are being done. And I just want to call out a couple of things in the contract that we've specifically added in. The first is any analysis that you guys are doing on this data set that in any way involves one of our students, we want to know what that is. So we want to be able to see every study that you're doing. And we want the ability for you guys to come to the board and present to the board exactly the benefits of those studies. So that is now built into this contract. As far as I know, this is the first time any of the districts in the area have actually put clauses like that in. We also added language saying, look, if this isn't working for us, we have the ability to terminate this contract for any reason or no reason for 30 days. So it's a 3-year contract. But if at any point we feel like our data isn't actually being honored, respected, or frankly useful to us, we pull the plug immediately. And so I think actually a lot of what you're saying drove this latest iteration of the contract. And we're really excited to have our new data and assessment coordinator, Austin Batson, who kind of led this, really work hand in hand with the folks at Stanford who are driving this work to make sure that we're fully benefiting from the really interesting and broad data set, as well as all the resources of Stanford University on this particular partnership.
Okay, so what are the benefits we received over the last 5 years?
Frankly, I'm not sure. There's a couple of studies that Austin shared with us, but I think we haven't seen enough. And I think there's
Which
been
is
some,
why you reworked the.
which is
agreement.
exactly why we reworked the agreement.
Okay, and you know, one thing you mentioned is to track students over time. What does that mean? Well, can you be more specific? Like we're tracking them through high school because we have the ability to do that with our relationship with supporting the high school district. So is it beyond it, like through college, through career? What?
It's through high school for us.
I actually think it's beyond.
But more, for example, here's an example, EL reclassification, English language reclassification.
Mhm.
We want to be able to have that articulation with the high schools ourselves because we need to make sure that we have the similar criteria, or we're looking and examining the criteria that might hold back our English language learners from being able to acquire A to G courses. And that takes the articulation between the feeder schools that go into Sequoia Unified High School.
But you
District.
don't need this agreement to do that. You don't.
But we're able to look at data to support us with that. And Stanford is helping us do research to be able to petition to say legislation about new criteria that should be used so that English language learners can be better afforded opportunity.
But you
in high
can
school.
do an agreement with the high school district itself and look at and share data and look at the data. I just don't get what is their role that what do they do that we can't do? That in return, change the way we do education.
There is little, I mean, it's almost cocky of us to say this, but I think there's much of what Stanford researchers are doing. We could probably do in-house, but we aren't a team of PhDs and who study education science and statistics and have sort of the time to do some of these things. And so we think that this agreement allows us to basically tap into the really rich resources and powerful analyses and expertise that Stanford has. So it's
Because, you know, Sequoia High School District has a dashboard that breaks down their student population by zip code, by race, by, you know, it says how many of them are fulfilling A through G requirements, how many of them are EL learners. I mean, they have data that they dissect and make available. Now, the outward facing one is probably an overview, but they have more detailed data that gets to what I feel like this is proposing.
We also have the county office of ed also, we're part of a data zone where we can also acquire that. I think there's also leverage with Stanford University to help us make some changes. And we can leverage the validity of a Stanford University to support us with the research to make arguments about why changes, say in legislation, need to happen because it does come down from the state, California Department of Ed, when it comes to some regulations around what criteria is needed to move forward with certain protocols like reclassification of English language learners. There is a lot of study right now that we're involved with English language learners, for example. This actually originated, if we recall, Trustee Polito, from Jim Leonides and Sequoia, and it's initiated from them and making sure that the feeder schools, we have this conversation, articulation, and it's
And I-
substantiated through data collection.
And I remember that because that was one of our big initiatives some time ago, that articulation piece. But this was brought in with the intention of something that I don't feel like has been delivered.
yes.
So that's where I'm at right now. So when it originally came about, I was supportive of it because I was like, oh, great, we get to do all these things. But in reality, those things haven't been happening over the last 5 years, and we found other ways around it. On one side, right? Not fully. But what I'm saying is, I just don't know that they've been able to show evidence of why this partnership is valuable to us. I'm glad that we all reworked the agreement to make it more sense for us, right? And I like this component of reports and whatnot and show us what your findings are. I just think after 5 years, I just have reservations on it. And that's not to say anyone else should, I'm just stating mine. So that's all for me. Thank you.
Through the chair, I know you said that they are going to have presentations and that we've seen 3 studies, I guess, or a few studies or whatever. Is there a way that we, as a board, can receive that information? That's I think that's one of the questions that I would have. Because, you know, to Trustee Polito's point, it's been 5 years. I'd love to see data. I'd love to see the ways that our data has helped transform education. I think that that's a great story that we can be a part of and we get to tell, but we don't get to tell it if we don't have the story. And so we've been with them for 5 years. So yes, is there something that they can present or give to us immediately? Right. And so that's one question. The second question is with all of these other districts that have also been involved in the San Mateo County, right? Because it's the Sequoia, sorry, I don't remember what the name is here. Yeah, this Sequoia, the agreement, the Sequoia Collaborative. Because I think I also asked this question, like we have this dashboard or we have this other stuff, but can we get the data? Can we get it right away? And I know now we have a team that is able to interpret and present the data to us. But the question is with the other school districts, how have they been able to access this data? Have they been presented, or are we all on the same plane? Because I want to make clear as well, like I'm glad we're putting this language in, but are we putting this language in because other people had access to something we didn't have? Right. So that's.
We could be prepared. Stanford has always said that they'd be willing to present, so we can definitely make sure we can have them present.
Wouldn't
the
we want
results.
them to present before we extend the
That's
contract?
Yeah,
actually a point that I
so can we,
bring up. I-
that's what I would like to do. I'd like to hold on saying anything until we can see a presentation of the last 5 years, or not even like the last 5 years total, because I get it. Research takes time. Sometimes collecting data takes 5 years. I get that. But I would love to see what is in process, what is in progress. I would like to see how they have been using our data before we make a decision on this, because I think that if we make a decision on this today, I don't think it's going to be an informed decision,
Yeah.
right? So I'm informed in the sense I want to go in good faith, but I also want the good faith back to be like, hey, you had our data, you have had our data for 5 years. So I'd love to see the effects of that 5 years.
No, I agree with Trustee Bloom on that point. If I were to vote on it right now, I'll decline it. I would like to have them present on this. I think that as a board, as a trustee, as its chair, we have an obligation to our students and our families to protect their data resources that they're not getting back. So us as the governing body, the fact that we don't have anything for 5 years, that era is gone. And so unless this partnership is going to adjust, which it seems like it's now, but for me, it's too late. 5 years.
So I do want to share with the board, there has been some research that's been shared, and so I will forward that information again to you all. But in terms of publicly making a presentation, we can have them come to the board.
What
Yeah.
I've seen is insufficient, so that's why I feel like I'm at a place where I can
Okay.
support this, and if that's all there is to back this,
It's not enough.
it's not enough.
Like my biggest concern is this: how much data are we going to continue to pull from our students from all of these other agreements? When is it going to be too much? Because we're not using it, is what I'm done not using things, right? It's if it doesn't have a purpose of trying to better our system or our processes, I don't see a place in it right now. So if we were to vote on it, I would vote against it.
I would just reiterate, I think these are all the exact questions that the district staff team, Solomon and Austin, have been meeting with Stanford, asking the exact same things. And they've asked Stanford to present findings and things along the way that they've been doing. We've seen that. I think it's very fair for the board to also see that before voting on this agreement. And so I think, I'm happy to pull it and come back and coordinate with the Stanford team of having them present what they've shared with us that got us to a point we felt comfortable recommending this. So no issues on my part sharing that.
Yeah, and that point that you brought up is great. Like,
Yeah.
yes, staff does recommend, but the board needs to be in a position to vote on something with confidence. So I think we have the direction of, we're gonna pull this, we're not gonna vote on it until we get those, we get that presentation.
And I just want to be clear, like, it doesn't have to be a conclusive study that has a conclusion and a paper published. I'm happy to hear how this data is being used currently in process as well, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to limit Stanford to be like, prove to us right? Then they're like, we're still doing the study, but I'm like, you have things you can present while you're doing the study. And if not that, then, you know, working with Austin and the other, the data coordinator, the other data coordinators on our team, is there a way that as a school district, the staff can let us know with these data points or opportunities to receive data from this project, this is how we will use it and inform our practice with our children. So I think that if we can have those two things in this presentation, I think that that would really help understand this agreement a little bit more.
Yeah. And just so I'm oh, sorry, through the
No, no, go
chair,
ahead.
just so I'm transparent, like for me, there has to be a very clear, defined, direct benefit to this agreement that goes beyond just tracking students. Because for me, there's different ways we can track students and use data. And it's great if they have a report, but I don't want to feel like our kids are like lab rats or guinea pigs being studied.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in that. Now, again, if this agreement leads for us to be able to change our, you know, how we do instruction, how we better serve our students in some
Yeah.
significant way that will change the way we operate as a district, then I'm interested in having the conversation. But releasing private information, privacy, anything related to privacy for the sake of just studying us, I'm not on board with that. And I think, like I said, because of the time that's been allowed, I don't think they've, to me, build a strong enough case, but maybe there's more that we haven't learned. I'm open, just as, you know, Trustee Bloom and Trustee Latu said, President Latu said, you know, have them come and present to us. But for me, there still has to be that connection, that very clear, strong connection. Just telling me what report you did for your assignment will not be enough for me. I needed to go beyond that. I need to have a direct impact, clear, significant impact for what we do here at Ravenswood.
And to add on to my fellow trustees is I want a better image of what we're sharing data wise, what every partnership we're sharing data with and what the goals are for each stream. And if there's overlap, I don't think there should be any overlap. We can talk further
Sure,
offline.
I'm not sure.
if
I'm not
you-
sure I
if you-
totally understood that point. You know, this agreement included has sort of a detailed list of whatever data would be shared in that partnership agreement. There are times where there would be overlap naturally. A agreement with one partner wants to know attendance data. Another partner also wants to know attendance data just so that they can do that kind of, is their program having an impact? Is that what you're referring to, Trustee? Maybe misunderstanding.
We'll talk offline
Sure.
about it because there's specifics in my mind that I'm thinking about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it just to reiterate, I think the staff, you know, I believe 2 years ago, we actually completely overhauled our data sharing agreement to make it much more robust. And so we have taken steps over the last couple of years to really just protect our student privacy wherever possible and really share the minimum amount of information that is necessary to sort of achieve whatever goals we're trying to achieve on a given project. And so that is definitely the spirit. And I think happy to show how we believe this partnership does benefit us, but that is the goal of we shared not one iota more than we need to achieve the sort of specific aims of an individual project. So we completely agree with the sentiment, the spirit, and happy to come back with a fuller presentation.
Can I ask a quick question? One last question. I remember seeing it online, but I don't see it in this packet, so I don't know if I was looking at something else. But what is the student information that's provided through this agreement? It's their name. I could have sworn I saw social security number.
No, God, no,
Okay,
definitely
so
not.
that's what I wanted to clarify. I'm like, why are we giving this level of detail? But I didn't know if I mixed it up with something else. So
Yeah.
can you clarify what it is that?
I don't have the agreement in front of me, so I can't answer that sort of question. I know it's sort of in the back of it. It is much more focused on directory information. So sort of student name, grade, sort of basic level information, what school they're at. And I believe it includes some sort of measures of academic performance and some student attributes, like are they an English learner or not? But
Right.
those are binary, not like level of English learner, right? We don't collect information, to be very clear about student social security information. We don't want that information under any
There's
circumstances.
some kind of idea. I can't remember. That's
It might
so
be student
confusing.
state ID, SSID. Got it. Yeah,
Oh,
SSID.
that's what it was.
It's a
Yeah.
student state ID, so it's not their social
Yeah.
security. It just is a unique
Can you
identifier.
S as something like.
Sorry. And just for folks who are watching online, we do
The-
not collect
We do
social
not.
security.
Student
not.
ID number.
And the whole reason that exists is to match students when they move between
Right. So
schools
they
and the
can track
state.
them. No, I understand.
So it's just, I know, I know the trustees, just for people online, we're definitely not doing anything with your social security number. It's just your state ID number, tracking that.
The student ID number. Okay.
Exactly.
Thank you for clarifying that. So we'll look forward to having you all come back with this.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Invite trustee Dominique back in. Hi. Now moving back up to item number 7, which is the consent agenda. I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda minus the 2 items that have been pulled, which is item 7K and 7L.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I will second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. And the motion carries 4-0. Now we'll move on to the superintendent's report.
Fantastic. We will again be covering our main 3 topics: learning development, leadership and community, health and safety, and I'll highlight a few items underneath each. For learning and development, we are on our 35th day, our 34th day of instruction. That was incorrect on the other slide. We have intramural sports going on. We've had sessions where our students have gone out to promote the programs that our middle school has provided. We have partners that we work with, like East Palo Alto Tennyson Tutoring, that's still holding down program. We have our outreach coordinators hosting cafecitos. We are holding district-wide professional development, and our kids are experiencing different options in foods and meals, like a barbecue that's homegrown and cooked. I think trustee Bloom can attest that that's one of her children's favorite days, as well as when there is barbecue happening on Fridays. We did host a professional development where it was a non-instructional day. There were no students on campus, so we were able to bring across our district all of our team members to participate in training as we're trying to work towards becoming an anti-racist organization. We had a facilitator come in to help us with this work, and we really want to make sure that as we are doing some self-reflection, as well as trying to just challenge ourselves in doing better for kids, that we do it in such a way that it lands well with all of our team members. So we'll be sending out a survey to all of our staff members who participated to see how the professional development went, as it is challenging, and it does create discomfort when we are talking about making sure that we create an inclusive environment for not only all of our students, but all of our team members. Our executive team was able to participate in a forum that was held in Washington, D.C. We were referred to because of some of the initiatives and innovative work that we're doing here in Ravenswood. We were one of 8 other districts that participated. I'm sorry, one of 8 districts that participated. We were the smallest district in terms of the number of students that we support. The largest district that was there served 89,000 students. What was great about this opportunity was we were able to really look at our vision of how to make sure that we are meeting the needs of kids and whether or not our vision is bold enough. And you could see here some of the objectives that we were trying to accomplish. I can't read from here, so I'm gonna try to get on my computer. And so, for example, we worked towards just really capitalizing on some of the priorities that are already in place. More importantly, building assumptions to make sure that we're looking at all angles to ensure that we could execute and how that might impact also the people who we need to help us move and make sure our vision comes into fruition. In addition, we've also we're able to determine what needs to stop, what we need to fix before we start any other new initiatives. We need to make sure that what we do have in place, we do well before also taking on any other opportunities. We were also able then to synthesize our work and make sure that we had a clear scope and sequence of what our next steps were going to be. We were able to learn from other superintendents that were there and their teams. And it was great to be amongst other like-minded folks who are willing to think outside the box. We were still part of a higher education forum where there's still some, I think, still some boundaries that we were still working within, and we were all on board that we do need to break through some of those boundaries. It was a great opportunity as well to develop collegiality amongst other districts, but more importantly, strengthen our executive team morale. We wanted to make sure too that we highlight what we've been able to accomplish in the last year alone with this governance team that we have here. We shared this in our newsletter as well that went out to the greater community, but we want to make sure that we highlight the things that we were able to accomplish as a governance team. And first and foremost, been able to invest in our staff. So all of our employees in the classified and certificated unit were able to increase their salaries to the top third, where also our administration and central office, we were able to move them up to the median level. We were also able to develop an innovative evaluation process with our teachers so that it is more meaningful and develop more of a growth mindset that we are always continuing to improve our practice. We've been also able to make sure that we make some major improvements in our facilities. And as you know, our middle school is under construction. We have brand new buildings that are being raised over there in the middle school. We are also in the process of developing a new design for our elementary school, starting with Belhaven because of the support of the community. I'm passing Measure I with a $110 million bond. We're able to modernize all of the buildings at the middle school, develop new buildings in addition to now pursuing the ability to modernize the buildings at our elementary schools, Belhaven, Castaño, and Los Robles, Roma McNair. I think what is also something that we needed to do just to restore trust and confidence is making sure our budget is as transparent as possible about how we are spending our funds. If you were to go to our website under the business office page, you would be able to follow where all of our dollars go with the interactive tool that our business office has put in place. And so if anyone has any questions, obviously they can contact our CBO and our director of finance, but they can also on their own time be able to follow the dollars using our interactive tool. And I think with the one-time funding that's coming through, with the amount of funds that we've been able to raise through the foundation, we want to be very clear the needs of our students and how those dollars are being spent. We've also been able to maintain wraparound supports for our students during this time, especially during the pandemic and as we recover from the pandemic and accelerate our students' learning. We've been also still able to address the social emotional needs of our students. We're partnering with the Ravenswood Wellness Partnership led by our Children's Health Council and the other partners here to make sure that we're coordinating services to the best of our ability. I think the schools have held a lot on their shoulders when it's come to providing the needs of our students, like the Maslow hierarchy of needs. We really want to focus on making sure students increase their sense of belonging as well as teaching the academic maintaining the academic focus around math, literacy, science skills. And when it comes to outside organizations, that this is what they do in terms of supplying and supporting with vaccinations or school supplies or help with housing insecurities. The schools can't be the end all be all. And so we need to rely on the outside organizations that this is what they do 24/7. And so we're making sure that we coordinate better as we move forward in supporting students with their acceleration in their learning. We're also making sure that we improve our instruction and reevaluate the curriculum that we're using. The board has recently passed new curriculum for our middle school. Just as of last night, at the end of the day, our assistant superintendent, Sarah Stone, facilitated the K-5 ELA ELD adoption kickoff meeting, explaining the need of why we do need to reevaluate our English language arts curriculum for our elementary school, especially with the research that we've gotten around the science of reading. We definitely need to look at the curriculum that we're using for our English language arts instruction. And I believe the board is in support and has showed interest in us making sure that we have the most up-to-date, effective curriculum to support with increasing student reading and learning. And then, of course, we've mentioned about the articulation through high school and beyond. We also are focused on early childhood education. And so we've invested in making sure that we expand our TK classrooms. This is Mr. Germano, who's been a TK teacher for the last 8 years, in the photo with students that have been his TK students. So he's taught several siblings, and it creates a sense of community from TK through 8th grade. It helps with the recruitment process. More importantly, getting kids in and exposed to academics and a learning environment is what is our priority. And so we've extended TK classrooms not only at Castagna School and Bellhaven, but also at Los Robles Romner, where this year is their first year with the TK classroom. Each of our TK classrooms also have instructional aids. What has also been coming up in our community is the discussion around our flood site project. You can see it there highlighted. It's located right there off of Sheridan Drive and between Sheridan Drive and Van Buren Road. Our project, as we've articulated over a period of time, is that we are proposing to develop an 80 to 90 unit, which is 100% affordable housing. We want to give preference during the 90-year term of this lease to our teachers and eligible staff members. Currently, about 85% of our staff would qualify. Any unsubscribed units would be available to the public, and eligible teachers and staff would be first in line whenever units become available. Recently, we are thrilled with the fact that the governor did sign into law Assembly Bill 2295, and I'm very appreciative of our CDO, who's also brought to our attention this bill so that we could advocate for it and speak to legislators to pass it. And so this would allow us to be able to build affordable housing or housing independent of zoning on our school property. And we are working to better understand this bill as it was recently passed just a few weeks ago. And we did host a meeting around health and safety where different school entities met with the mayor of East Palo Alto and the police department. So Mayor Abrica, Chief Blue, and Commander, I want to say Davis. I need to review that. We all met along with the principals from KIP, Aspire, the primary school, Izzy, Eastside Preparatory High School, all the schools in East Palo Alto primarily came together so that we could discuss how to respond to any emergency and have immediate action. So we did share a comprehensive safety plans. We also made sure that we were in agreement that we would follow this County Office of Ed's Big Five, which is their immediate response to different levels of emergencies, like shelter in place, secure campus, as well as lockdown and barricade. We highlighted that we wanted to make sure we knew who the current contacts are and who to communicate with. And as a result, we now have a group chat so that we can be informed of any emergencies that do take place and also get quick clarification to understand if there is a lockdown or not. I know that certain principals with other schools like KIPP, if we were to look at the campus where we have Los Robles, Ronald McNair, where we have East Palo Alto Academy, primary school and Izzy, they're all on a group chat, right? Because if something were to happen on one side of that campus, we want to make sure all those entities are aware. We now have a group chat that includes all the leads at all the schools in the area. We also were able to discuss current health trends and safety trends, like the hoax that's been going around across the country, where there's concern that there's an intruder on campus. And so Chief Liu was able to use the group chat to ensure that to clarify that that was a hoax with a couple of the high schools in the county that were affected. We do have a next meeting that is planned, and we will be able to invite our San Mateo County Office of Ed representative who focuses on supporting schools with the Big Five, in addition to potentially bringing in elected officials who could support with legislation like social media verification, so we can support with finding out the roots of some of the cyberbullying that's happening. Thank you.
Wonderful. Do we have any questions or comments on the board? As I see none. Thank you. Moving on to item number 10, which is the disclosure of California School CSEA and Ravenswood City School District initial proposals for the successor agreement bargaining.
So we have Joan here if there's any questions regarding the proposals, but this is just to inform the board and the public that we will be proceeding with negotiations for the listed items that we're willing to negotiate. So both our RTA, CSEA has listed items that they would like to negotiate, and then Ravenswood, Ravenswood District has listed items that we would like to negotiate.
Opening up
Any
for questions or
questions?
comments? I see none.
I think we need to, Joan, do we need to vote, take action? I don't believe we do. Yeah.
Wonderful. Moving on to item number 10.
So this is the board to take action to accept the report that there have been no formal complaints around the Williams around textbooks, facilities, and missed assignments.
Do we have any questions or comments on the board? As I see none, I will entertain a motion for item number 10.
I move to approve item 10, the Williams Uniform Complaint Report.
Thank you.
I will second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 4-0. Item number 11, the revisions for the second reading and action. Board policy revision, second reading and action. Do we have any questions or comments? As I see none, I will entertain a motion for item number 11.
Through the chair, I'll make a motion to approve item 11.
Thank you.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. The motion carries 4-0. Moving on to item number 12. which is board policy revisions presented to the board for the first reading.
No action.
No action. And now let's move on to item number 13, which is board reports and communications.
Picture Day was today for Los Robles. And I think Picture Day is coming up for the other campuses as well. And I'm not sure, I don't think they're all on the same day. So parents, if you don't know, make sure you know what day is actually Picture Day so your kid can at least leave your house looking cute.
Nice.
Through the chair, I'll share an announcement to the community at large, whoever's listening in. As a result of SB 893, spring semester will be tuition free. No fees for anyone in San Mateo County that is a resident. So spread the word, please tell anybody you know, you can go for a full semester with not having to worry about very much as far as financial barriers are concerned. And I don't know if it's no knowledge, but you know, San Mateo County Community College District also provides like support with like free tutoring, help with groceries, health services, among other things, even transportation. I don't know if the community knows, but there's not only a shuttle, but they now have Uber available for students to use to get to Cañada College. If they choose to go to Cañada or CSM, I know they have their own transportation. So I'm just saying it, spread the word, y'all. Free tuition for San Mateo County residents. Tell anyone you know, please sign up. Thank you.
It's great.
Wonderful. As I see none else, I will note that I was able to go to the CCRMS volleyball game. The JV and the varsity, I believe the varsity should still be undefeated,
We are
right?
7-0.
7-0. So I just want to commend all of the players. It was a job well done. On to a little bit of more somber news. Last week, as a lot of the community might have heard or been notified of the passing of Peter Fortenbaugh. He's the longtime Boys and Girls Club CEO. And so at this time, I just had a couple of words that I just would like to say to the public. But I believe that it takes a very special person to come to East Palo Alto and spend long periods of time working with our kids and our future generations. I think it takes a very special person to make it their passion work. And I believe that it takes a very special person to continue to do all these things while fighting a very, serious illness. I remember reading one of the quotes that he said a couple years ago, and it was, "Time is our most precious asset, and the most important thing we do every day is decide how we spend it." For me, I can't imagine a better way to spend my time than by working with you for a brighter future for our kids and families. So at this time, I just would like to send my well wishes to his family, his wife Betty, and their 3 kids. I want to send my remarks also to our Boys and Girls Club who continue to show up at our school sites given this very difficult time. And I also want to commend all of our young people and adults that were touched by the work that Peter was able to do, not only for Boys and Girls Club, but for our community and the surrounding communities. And so help is there if you need someone to talk to process some of this. And I will ask our superintendent to keep us posted or updated regarding his services going forward. With that, I will move on unless we have anyone else who would like to say anything. But I will move on to item number 14, which is the consideration to approve resolution 2223-7 for trustee Alexander.
I'll make a motion to approve item number 14.
Thank you.
I'll second. Who's gonna read it since she's not here?
Sure, I'll read it. Resolution number 2022/2023-7, board members excuse absence. Whereas Education Code 35120A5 authorizes that each member of the governing board of the Ravenswood City School District. Is that all I need to say, or do I need to say for trustee Ronald Alexander?
All in favor, say aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 4-0. The next regular board meeting will be held on October 27th, 2022 at 6:30 PM. Open session will be at 7:15 PM. And I will adjourn the Ravenswood City School District Governing Board meeting of October 13th,